So what's the best type of exercise to do if you have PCOS, now called PMOS? Is it strength training? Is it cardio? Is it yoga? If you spend any time online, I'm sure you know there's a lot of conflicting information out there that's really confusing. You may have heard you have to go low and slow if you have PCOS. You should avoid heavy weightlifting, avoid vigorous cardio because they cause cortisol spikes and make your PCOS worse. All these rules drive me crazy, which is why I'm making this video today. So in my video today, I'm going to show some of the new research that's come out in the past 2 years, specifically done on women with PCOS and exercise, where they compare different types of exercise and different intensities, and then they talk about the health effects on your body. And then I want to give you some practical tips on what you can do for your exercise program with PCOS. My name is Martha McKittrick. I'm a registered dietitian, and I've been specializing in PCOS for over 20 years, and I love providing science-based information to help clear the confusion. So let's get started. I first want to say how excited I was to see new research come out on PCOS, because as we all know, PCOS tends to be very underfunded and there's not much research on it, especially on a topic like exercise, which can be so confusing. Before I get into the results of the studies, I want to talk about the different types of exercises that they looked at. The first one would be aerobic exercise or cardiovascular exercise, which could be a brisk walk, a run, swim, doing a Zumba class, biking. And they looked at moderate intensity and they looked at vigorous intensity within that category. The next group was called strength training. And that's where you put stress against a muscle to get it to be stronger. And that could be free weights, machines, bands, or your own body weight. Next exercise was HIIT or high intensity interval training. And that's when you alternate bouts of very, very vigorous exercise with a much less vigorous type of exercise. So you're kind of being intense and then taking it down. And then the last type of exercise they looked at was mind-body exercise like yoga. So let's get into what the study showed. Let's start by talking about cardio versus strength training. Is one more important than the other for PCOS? If you spend any time online, you might have gotten the impression that strength training is most important and cardio takes a back seat. Now, I'm a huge proponent of strength training for PCOS because it helps to improve metabolic health, it helps with body composition, it helps to build muscle mass, which sucks the sugar into the cells and helps improve insulin resistance. But that doesn't mean to ditch the cardio. In fact, aerobic exercise has some of the strongest evidence for improving metabolic health in women with PCOS. One of the recent studies of nearly 1,200 women found that moderate intensity cardio performed particularly well for improving insulin resistance. So it's not just weight training that does this. And you don't necessarily have to choose one or the other. Another study showed that the combination of strength training and cardio performed particularly well in lowering cholesterol and triglyceride levels. So I like to think not focusing on one or the other, but trying to include both into your exercise program. So let's move on to a controversial topic. Is vigorous exercise bad for PCOS? Now, I'm sure you've read online that you need to exercise low and slow if you have PCOS. And this is one of the rules that really drives me crazy because a lot of women end up giving up some of their favorite exercises because they're afraid and they think it's going to make their PCOS worse, where in reality there isn't any evidence that shows everybody with PCOS cannot do these types of exercise. In fact, a systematic review and meta-analysis of one of the recent studies I'm talking about found that vigorous intensity exercise produced some of the greatest improvements in cardiovascular fitness, insulin resistance, and body composition in women with PCOS. So this brings me to one of my clients. She came to me because she was very confused about what to do for her PCOS. She had been spinning 3 times a week, which she loved, a pretty vigorous class, but she loved it. It made her feel good. And she gave it up because she heard she was supposed to just do walking and yoga. And she kind of got depressed. She wasn't sleeping as well. And she just didn't want to walk or do yoga. So she kind of stopped exercising. So we added it back in and she ended up feeling much better again. She listened to her body. So really what I'm encouraging people is there isn't any evidence that shows just because you have PCOS, you can't do vigorous exercise. Now, does that mean that everybody should do vigorous exercise? No, some people do not feel well doing that. But if you feel well and you enjoy it, don't give it up. After all this talk about vigorous exercise, let's move on to something less intense, and that will be walking. Walking is one of my favorite ways to get in activity during the day. It's also great for people who don't exercise on a regular basis, or if you have joint problems or some kind of injury where the more vigorous exercise doesn't make your body feel good. And the good thing about walking is you don't have to necessarily go out and walk straight for 1 hour. Getting in 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there can give you health benefits, especially walking after meals, dinner in particular. Studies have shown that it can help to lower the rise of blood sugar that occurs after eating. So just because walking is not as vigorous as weight training or other types of cardio, don't dismiss it, although it doesn't give you quite the same health benefits as more vigorous cardio or strength training does. It's still worth including into your routine. There's one more type of exercise I want to mention for PCOS, and that is yoga. I've always been a big fan of yoga for PCOS, and it's really exciting to see new studies coming out that are showing the health benefits. A 2025 network meta-analysis of 19 randomized controlled trials compared yoga with several other types of exercise, and yoga ranked the highest for improving insulin resistance and for lowering total testosterone. So does that mean yoga is the best exercise for PCOS? No. We definitely need more research on yoga as well as other types of exercise, but it's really good to know that incorporating yoga into your exercise routine can offer many other health benefits. It also helps with flexibility, with stress management, and so much more. So in summary, what is the best exercise for PCOS based on the studies? I think you know my answer. There is no one best exercise. Studies have shown that different types of exercise and different intensities of exercise have health benefits for PCOS. What should your program include? Ideally, there would be a strength training component as well as an aerobic component. The intensity of your aerobic component, whether you're doing HIIT or whether you're doing brisk walking, really depends on you and how your body feels. If you feel good doing more vigorous exercise, there are definitely lots of health benefits, and go for it. In terms of the strength training, if your body feels good lifting heavy weights, there are health benefits, go for it. If it doesn't make your body feel good, don't lift heavy weights, but don't be afraid of doing these types of exercise just because you've heard it on social media. If you like yoga, there are health benefits behind that, throw that in, and get in walking, move your body during the day. One thing I do want to say is that don't think if a little is good, more is better. I do see some problems happening with my clients with PCOS when they're overdoing exercise. They're doing too much HIIT. They're not giving their bodies a rest. That can disrupt your hormones if you're overdoing things. So everything in moderation, look for a balanced program. Most importantly, find something that you enjoy doing, something that you will do, and something that makes your body feel good. If you like this video, subscribe. If you have any topics you want me to do a video on, put it in the comments and I'll try and do it.